Hey Jordan, have you ever considered the idea of universal basic income?
Yeah, I've heard about it. Isn't it where everyone gets a fixed amount of money regularly, regardless of their employment status?
Exactly. Proponents argue that it could alleviate poverty and provide a safety net for everyone, especially in an era of increasing automation and job insecurity.
Hmm, I see the appeal, but wouldn't that just discourage people from working? Why bother if you're getting money regardless?
That's a common concern, but studies have shown that most people still want to work, not just for the money, but for a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Plus, UBI could actually enable people to pursue more meaningful work or entrepreneurial ventures without the fear of financial ruin.
I guess that makes sense. But where would the money come from to fund such a program? It sounds expensive.
That's a valid point. Some proposals suggest funding it through taxes on the wealthy or by redirecting existing welfare programs. Others argue for funding through revenues generated by automation or resource taxes.
But wouldn't taxing the wealthy too heavily discourage investment and economic growth?
It's a delicate balance for sure. However, proponents argue that the benefits of reducing poverty and inequality would outweigh any potential negative effects on investment. Plus, a healthier and more financially secure population could stimulate economic growth in the long run.
I suppose that's possible. But what about the potential for inflation? If everyone has more money, wouldn't prices just rise accordingly?
That's a concern, but studies suggest that the inflationary impact of UBI would likely be minimal, especially if implemented gradually and alongside other economic policies. Plus, increased consumer spending could spur production and innovation, helping to mitigate inflationary pressures.
Hmm, I hadn't thought about it that way. It's definitely a complex issue with no easy answers.
Absolutely. There are valid arguments on both sides, and it's important to weigh the potential benefits against the challenges and unintended consequences. But I believe it's worth exploring further, especially given the changing nature of work and the increasing prevalence of economic inequality.
Yeah, you've given me a lot to think about. Thanks for the insightful discussion, Alex.
It's always good to have these conversations and challenge our perspectives.
Alex, I'm still not entirely convinced though. What about the potential for people to become dependent on UBI and lose their motivation to work or contribute to society?
That's a valid concern, but proponents argue that UBI could actually empower people to make better choices about their work and lives. With a basic income guaranteed, individuals may feel more secure to pursue education, training, or even volunteer work that they're passionate about, ultimately contributing to society in different ways.
I can see your point there. But what about those who might misuse the funds or become trapped in cycles of poverty and dependency?
That's certainly a risk, and it highlights the importance of implementing UBI alongside other social support systems and programs aimed at addressing root causes of poverty, such as education, healthcare, and affordable housing. Additionally, UBI could be coupled with financial literacy programs to help people make informed decisions about how to manage their income responsibly.
I agree that a comprehensive approach is necessary, but I still worry about the potential unintended consequences, like a shrinking labor force or decreased productivity.
It's a valid concern, but studies and pilot programs have shown mixed results on those fronts. In some cases, UBI has actually led to increased entrepreneurship, creativity, and productivity as people are freed from the constraints of low-paying or menial jobs and have the financial security to pursue their passions or invest in their skills.
That's intriguing. I'll have to look into those studies more closely. But what about the impact on government finances? Wouldn't implementing UBI require a massive increase in public spending?
It would certainly require significant investment, but proponents argue that the long-term benefits, such as reduced poverty, inequality, and healthcare costs, could outweigh the initial costs. Additionally, funding mechanisms like progressive taxation or wealth redistribution could help offset the expenses.
I see your point. It's definitely a complex issue with no easy answers. Thanks for sharing your perspective, Alex. You've given me a lot to consider.
Of course, Jordan, it's always good to have these discussions and explore different viewpoints. We may not agree on everything, but it's important to keep an open mind and continue seeking solutions to address the challenges we face as a society.
Absolutely, Alex. I appreciate your openness to discussing these topics. While I can't see the potential benefits of I still have concerns about its implementation and effectiveness. For example, how would we ensure that the amount provided as basic income is sufficient to meet people's needs, especially in high-cost areas?
That's a valid concern, Jordan. The amount of basic income would need to be carefully calculated to ensure it covers essential living expenses like food, housing, and healthcare. It could be adjusted regionally to account for differences in the cost of living, and regular reviews could be conducted to assess its adequacy and make necessary adjustments.
That makes sense. But what about the potential for UBI to exacerbate existing inequalities, particularly if it's not means tested? Wouldn't wealthy individuals receiving the same amount as those in poverty widen the wealth gap?
That's a legitimate concern, and it's why some proposals for UBI include provisions for clawing back or taxing the basic income for higher income individuals. Means testing could also be considered to ensure that those who truly need assistance receive the most support. The goal is to strike a balance between universality and equity.
I agree that finding that balance is crucial. Another concern I have is the impact of UBI on social dynamics and community cohesion. If everyone receives the same basic income regardless of their circumstances, would it erode the sense of solidarity and mutual support that comes from collectively addressing societal challenges?
That's an interesting point, Jordan. While UBI may change the dynamics of social support to some extent, proponents argue that it could actually strengthen social cohesion by providing a common foundation of economic security for all members of society. It could foster a sense of shared responsibility and solidarity, rather than division based on economic status.
I can see the potential for that. It's a nuanced issue that requires careful consideration of its broader societal implications. Thanks for engaging in this discussion, Alex. It's given me a lot to think about.
Likewise, Jordan, these conversations are important for exploring complex issues and understanding different perspectives. While we may not have all the answers, it's valuable to continue the dialogue and work towards finding solutions that benefit everyone.